So here's a little bit different units conversion problem, or maybe not so different. How many times does a heart beat in a lifetime, a human heart, say? And we're going to call this, what should we call it? What do we call a lifetime? 80 years is probably close enough for a typical human. At least maybe an American human. I think those are getting shorter again. So I can just start out with the rate. I can say, look, a typical heart rate is 70 beats per minute. And so I just like to start out with an equation I know is true. And I'm going to take the right-hand side and I'm just going to systematically convert it into a lifetime, right? And so I'll say, look, I want to convert this from minutes to hours, and so I'm going to multiply this by 60 minutes per hour. That's going to cancel the minutes and give me beats per hour. If you multiply those out, that should be 4,200, right? And I can say, well, times 24 hours per day, right? The hours cancel. And then times 365 days per year. And now my days cancel. And then 70 years per life, or 80. I think I said 80. I did. 80 years per life. Right? And so if I multiply all those together, I multiply 70 times 60 times 24 times 365 times 80, and I get 2.94 times 10 to the 9th. 2.94 times 10 to the 9th beats per life. You get about 3 billion heartbeats in your lifetime. Hopefully most of them are fun. So here's another unit conversion that's a little more practical and a little bit different from what we've been doing. We can ask the question, how much does it cost per year to drive a car that gets 10 miles per gallon, 20 miles per gallon, or 50 miles per gallon, right? And so you might be driving a car that gets 10 and you want to know how much you would save if you traded it for a car that gets 20 or then a car that gets 50. And so we're gonna assume that a year is 10,000 miles, and so this is a weird equal sign, right? But 10,000 miles is the same thing as a year, and a gallon of gas is $2, right? These are round numbers-ish, right? Depending on what year you're in, but you can do that. And so we can just start out with just what we've been doing. Say, look, 1 year is equal to 10,000 miles. Is equal to 1 year. Let's start out with a true statement. Right? And I want to convert this into money. And so I'm going to say, well, look, I'm going to multiply this by 10,000 miles. I'll just use an M per year. And we'll know that's miles and not meters, right? Because 10,000 miles is the same thing as 1 year, and so this quantity is equal to 1. Right? I'm trying to get to dollars, right? And so I can convert this into gallons by saying this is 10 miles per gallon means that 1 gallon equals 10 miles for this car, right? 1 gallon of gas equals 10 miles. So this is another unit conversion. This is just equal to 1. And so now I've converted my year to gallons, right? And now I can say I want to convert gallons to miles. And so I can say, well, this is $2 per gallon. Right? And so I cancel all my units that cancel. And if I multiply all these things out, I get $2,000. Try again. Right? The years cancel, the miles cancel, the gallons cancel, and I end up with this is 10,000, this is divided by 1,000, and that's $2. And that was for the 10 mile per gallon car. And so then we can ask the question, well, what happens if I have a 20 mile per gallon car? Well, actually, everything's the same except one number, this one, right? Instead of being a 10, that's a 20, which makes this quantity half as big, And so I might call this the 10 mile per gallon line, and this is the 20 mile per gallon line. And instead of being $2,000, it's $1,000. So I could save $1,000 going from a 10 mile per gallon car to a 20 mile per gallon car per year. So over the course of 5 years, if I was going to have that car for 5 years, I could save $5,000. So if I was buying a used car or something, I could spend an extra $5,000 getting this car, and over 5 years, that would be a break even. Right? Similarly, if I wanted to do the 50 mile per gallon car, right? Again, the number would be, this number instead of being a 10 would be a 50, and the amount would be 400, right? Notice when I go from 10 to 20, I save $1,000. When I go from 20 all the way up to 50, I only save an additional $600. Even though it's 30 gallons more per gallon, 30 miles more per gallon, I'm only saving a little more than half as much as I did going from 10 to 20. All right, so these calculations can be useful just sort of in your regular life. You can just do little simple calculations like this and figure out useful quantities. And really, they're just unit conversion problems. Right? You're just saying, well, 10,000 miles is the same thing as a year. A gallon is the same thing as $2. Here, 10 miles is the same thing as a gallon. Here, 20 miles is the same thing as a gallon. We're kind of mixing our units there a little bit, but they tell the story that they answer the questions that we're trying to answer.